Hello, our dear listeners. This is Yuri from ORIL, and that it means that we have another amazing episode of Innovation Blueprint podcast. And our today's guest, not just a guy who work in the real estate, but the technical pioneer in AI sector. The guy who was working with the different technologies for more than 10 years. And his name is Gaurav Singh. Give a big round of applause to our guest. Yeah, that's not a lot of people around, but still, I'm pretty sure that our listeners and viewers gonna see you, and they will be very excited about that. So, Gaurav, thank you for joining us for this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Yuri. I'm excited to talk about AI and talk about my experiences there. And happy hello to all your listeners. Hope they're having a fun time wherever they're listening.
Yeah. So one more time, thank you. And let me tell you a little bit more about yourself to our listeners. And after that, you will add from your side if I'm going to miss something. So, our guest, Gaurav Singh, is a lead AI product manager in the company with the name Ridecell. And I know that your product, guys, based on AI, and on your website, the main statement that we have on top of everything, that AI that matters for fleet and leasing. That sounds pretty nice and pretty technical, but not really clear what exactly you guys do. Can you please give us a little bit introduction of what exactly you do for the company, what your company does, and what kind of services do you guys provide?
Absolutely, Yuri. So I'll start with what the Ridecell does and what are we talking about when we say fleets. So Ridecell works with automotive fleet companies, and these companies own millions of vehicles that they lease out to different other companies. Imagine a company like Merchants in the US, or there's a lot of banks in Europe that own millions of vehicles. Now they manage the entire life cycle of these vehicles. So they would put an order with an OEM, they would actually get the vehicles, they would then move them into a lease. During the lease, they might have managed services like maintenance of the vehicles and so on. And at the end of the lease, they decide if the vehicle needs to be sent into another lease or it needs to be sold somewhere else. So they manage the entire end-to-end life cycle of the lease. Now, this is a very old business. It's been going around for 80 to 90 years. And what Ridecell does is that it's digitally transforming this business for the new age. And of course, AI is a huge part of this because there's a huge amount of data that is being generated in these fleets. And Ridecell helps these fleet companies understand what is happening with their fleets. Where is the maintenance to be done for these fleets? Where is the life cycle issues that are happening in this fleet? What are the insights? What are the operational issues that we are looking at? And I work at the forefront of all the AI aspects that we do on this side. So just to give you an example, one of the key areas that we look at is you have the whole life cycle of the fleet. We are looking at which vehicles need to be moved into a particular life cycle. Say they're going to be sold or they're supposed to be come back into another lease. How do we decide that? How do we decide which vehicles are actually good to go into another lease? Which vehicles are need to be sent out to be sold? Another very quick example would be when we look at all the data that's been generated from these fleets, what are the key insights? Now, AI helps them understand these are the key areas that the fleet manager needs to focus on. The fleet manager is the one who's looking at all the vehicles, the entire dashboards. He needs to focus on these few vehicles, these few areas, and that'll improve his operational efficiency. So AI really helps in this. AI helps distill the data, come to an important point of the data, key insights, key actions to be taken, and helps the fleet manager's job become much easier. So that, in a nutshell, is what we work on doing.
Okay, so thank you for clarification. And I'm pretty sure that this technology can be applied not just to the fleet, but to some, I don't know, maybe real estate commercial, maybe some multifamily real estate. And if it's like that, can you please explain who exactly can use it and what kind of functionality you can bring to that companies?
Absolutely, Yuri. So, it's interesting because I have worked in different areas of AI, and I have friends and colleagues in different industries, and I love to understand how. And technology is the same, right? And there is the data aspect also, which is very similar. The industry might be different, but we can definitely apply these very similar technologies to things like real estate. Now think about in real estate, you have inventory that you're managing, which is in terms of the houses that you're trying to sell or the houses that you're trying to rent out. All these are sort of inventory. And again, these have certain life cycles. They're going through different life cycles. Maybe some are going through construction, some are coming into some aspects of sale. So you're going through maybe initially getting out people who you might want to sell this to. You want to reach out to those people. You have the marketing aspect that is happening there. And then later you are sort of having negotiations, discussion with them, and so on. So there's a whole life cycle that is happening. So you want to manage that data. You want to manage the interaction as well between the client and the user, which is something we also do in Fleet. So when we lease out to our clients, we have an interaction between them, which also AI really helps with. Now, how do we manage that interaction? Nowadays, it's like a lot of call centers would be there, a lot of people calling back and forth. Now you can actually do a lot of things with AI now. This AI technology has become so advanced, so interesting that very mundane status updates can be done easily through calls. Now, in the real estate area, what I really feel, well, the two areas that I feel which are very interesting is um, when I think in the fleet is also a very relationship driven business. So we never try to replace the human, the fleet manager, how he manages things, how he's able to interact with the clients, interact with the maintenance people. We don't want to replace him. We want to augment him. We want to help him do his job much better. We want to remove the mundane parts of his job. So similarly, in the real estate, when you're talking about agents, we're talking about people who are, reaching out to people to make a big life decision of buying a house. We want to augment them. We want to make things easier for them. So I think that's one area where real estate companies can really focus on with AI. It's like, hey, can the real estate agent get all the data he needs on his fingertips about all the listings that are there? So if a client is coming in, first of all, can they sort of get some information about the client, maybe based on what they have searched for? And then can they match that with the data that they have to give them the right amount of information and focus on the relationship? Don't do the mundane tasks of figuring out small aspects of like, okay, this person wants like a 5 bedroom apartment or 5 bedroom townhouse or things like that. But focus on relationship, focus on understanding the person as a human. Sort of focus on that aspect. So that's one thing that we really do in the fleet side that I think real estate can really focus on. The other aspect that I think that's really good is sometimes the customers might have very mundane legal queries or things like that. Now, ChatGPT people are using on their own, but I think real estate companies can focus on maybe having a system where they can have a very trusted source of information that the client can ask that question 24 hours a day. They don't need a person there. So any mundane questions can sort of be answered. So I think that customer support aspect, where maybe you have like call centers or things like that to do it, I think that can also be replaced with AI. So I think those are the two areas I really see, which I have also worked on, and in the short term can really get into with AI. And then in the long term, there are lots of other applications, Yuri, that we can talk about, which we can look at. But those require more effort and more interest because AI, as you know, is a field that is evolving every day. So we need to look at what can be done in the future.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That was a great, pretty long answer. And based on everything you said, I have a question regarding the data that you need to build that. I understand that for the car leasing, let's say, the data is pretty much the same. So there's some specific technical issues that might comes up and affect the next lease for the cars and the fleet in general. But what about the data about the real estate? Do you have some database of that data that you can use, or you need to get some data from the companies where you want to use that AI product and where you want to integrate your product into their systems?
Yeah, so I think in terms of data, when we are working as an AI product person, what I would first try to understand, and when I look at anything, I try to put a product lens on it, and then I have some engineering background, so I to take that lens as well. Um, when I look at the product, I'm trying to see what are you trying to do with that data? What is the aim of what we're trying to do? And then we can see what data exists, and do we need specialized data or can we do with general data? So if you're looking at something that is like very specific to a particular market that we need to look at, it's not a general trend that we're looking at, but it's very specific to a particular market. Then we look at very specific data that that company has. So when I talk about leasing, what we do is like we have some generic models for say prediction about prices, right? So it could be prediction of prices of vehicles in this case. Now, when we look at certain areas, like when we go to Europe or we go to US and certain countries in that, then we use specific data sources from within those countries, and we work with our partners. So we work, we are a B2B SaaS company, so we work with a partner company, and they have different sources of data, their own internal sources from time. They have their own industry experts that they also use. So we take that data from those aspects to sort of build the model. Now, when we talk about the real estate, I think it's very similar in that sense. So think about predicting home prices. That could be a good application of AI. I think AI is already being used in that area. What you would try to do in that prediction aspect is you might have a generic model on these aspects, like, hey, how's the type of city? Is it a coastal city? Is it a city in the interior? It's in California. And those kind of things might be there. But then when you're looking at very specific factors that are very localized and very time sensitive, then you need some specialized internal data that might be there at these companies. So that's what I would look at. I can give you a general trend based on like generic trends, but then we want to use data from these companies. So it doesn't remove those experts, those industry experts who understand these things. Those need to actually work with AI to come up with the model that will be useful for this industry.
Okay. And what about the integration? Let's say some real estate owners have some management platform with the database. It can be something from Yardi, or it can be customly developed for them product. But if they will decide to use your AI solution, how they can integrate it? Do they have to provide you their APIs, or you guys have your own APIs and you in charge of connection and integration? Can you please uncover that part?
Yeah, I think one aspect is, and we worked a lot with leasing companies, and what they have in this case is data is in all different forms. It's lying in Postgres database somewhere. It's lying in Excel sheets sometimes. All different kinds of sources of data that's there. So Ridecell has the capability of creating connectors for all different types of data sets that you might have. We are completely agnostic to this. And I think any company that is in the space has to work with this, because working with legacy enterprises, as you rightly said, they are working with very different forms of different areas in which they have the data. So I think one aspect is have that connector that can then take the data in the format that they have, abstract it into the format that is needed. And what Ridecell tries to do is that we have our own data format for the industry, which is an abstraction, which is an understanding of the data in a generic way. So, different companies might have different names for one aspect, but we would actually make that into a common name that makes it common across all, so that all AI models can be used on all kinds of data. So I think that's the way to go, is when a company is sort of building an AI solution, you want to make sure that what data is coming in from all different sources, we can actually make it in a common way and then actually apply all the AI models. So whatever the company makes or Ridecell will make for one company can then be applied to other companies potentially as well. And that helps sort of scale the operations for a B2B SaaS company.
And how you guys gonna display that? So you're gonna create some dashboard that's easy to read for some specific users, let's say, because that information that the manager needs to have is slightly different compared to the, let's say, some technical stuff, or maybe the owner.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Yuri. We always see this issue, sort of the role aspect, like what roles are looking at what types of data, and what are they interested in. A different role in the company might be interested in a different insight and has different areas that they can take action on. So absolutely. I think one aspect that is very important when we look at this is when you're looking at the role that is interested in what kind of data, we need to understand that data is the same across all of these players, but then they're interested in different facets of the data. So I'll give you an example from the fleet side, where we have a fleet manager who is, say, a regional fleet manager. They're interested in like understanding macro trends of what is happening across the fleet. But someone who is sort of a fleet manager, they're interested in each individual vehicle, like what's happening in individual vehicle aspect as well. So similarly, in the real estate market, if you think about, um, if it's a person who's going after individual deals, is interested in individually what's my status with all my deals. But a person on the more regional side, or or the owner or the manager, is looking at the macro trends, is looking at dashboards that are showing him macro trends, like over last month, how much have I improved from this, and going down from that. So I think that's where, when we log into the web application, the role is important, and then the role makes sure that the information is coming out in that way. Another way I think that AI can really help, and AI has helped us in that sense as well, is that sometimes a person's designation might be something, but they might be interested in something else. So you learn with their behavior over time. So you see, hey, I see Yuri is interested always, even though he's an owner, is sometimes always going to like individual cases in a particular area. Maybe he's interested in this. So AI can always start giving you more insights based on that, even though it's an owner. So I think it can be more flexible using AI. And that's what we are seeing in the fleet world. And I think we'll see that more and more in the real estate world as well when you're looking at data.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And talking about the real estate world, how do you see the AI implementation nowadays? What is the AI, in your personal opinion, in the real estate nowadays? Is that some just add-on, or it's co-pilot, or that's already real replacement for some specific positions, some specific employees?
Yeah, I think it's right now, in terms of major fleet companies. I would say enterprise people don't need to worry; their roles are pretty much safe. But and it's because a lot of their roles is about relationship management and managing very specialized types of data, which is something that AI cannot replace. So AI is only looking to augment and give them a space where they can remove some of the boring work and be more productive. That's definitely happening. I think where I see maybe jobs being lost, or jobs being reassigned, is where there was a lot of business process automation that's happening, and we're already seeing this, like BPO kind of work. A lot of that might start going away. So things like in the fleet world, what often happens is like, hey, there's like a simple status call, like they will call up somebody and say, hey, where is this vehicle? You know, and that is something that is outsourced to call centers in sort of low income countries to do that. Now that can be automated with AI, because it's a simple question that needs to be asked, and a simple answer that needs to be gotten back. Hey, the vehicle is over here right now, and the mileage is so and so, and that's it. And that's AI has reached that capability to understand human language and even give a human language answer in a better way. Even push for a human answer. Maybe if the person is not giving an answer, to sort of push a little bit. So the call agents have gotten much better. So I think those kind of applications, not just that, over email as well, which are simple status updates, will go away, and that's why I see some of the low type of cost centers sort of go away. So it's like knowledge workers which are doing basic things, but I think the knowledge workers who have more specialized knowledge and who have relationships, they will be augmented by AI right now. The AI hasn't reached a point yet where it's completely able to replace such people.
And thank you one more time. And where do you think that's going to bring us, let's say, in a 5 or maybe 10 years?
Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball, and I would be a very rich man.
It's
That
just your opinion, because some people say something like, "Oh my God, I watched the Terminator 2. I know what that's gonna bring us," and that's definitely not something what we want. Or some
yeah,
people say, "Hey, we're just gonna be able to manage some huge organizations just with the one director. I don't know, maybe CEO, and the rest will be completely automated." So the people
yeah.
say very different things, and I would like to hear your personal opinion as a guy who worked with AI for more than 10 years. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you have your personal point of view that you're willing to share.
Absolutely, Yuri. And I'll give you some like funny stories, or interesting stories. We know what's happening in sort of the battlefield in Ukraine and Russia, like with the drones. So I actually worked on these kind of drones 10 years ago. So already there was a understanding that drone technology that's coming in, and as AI is becoming part of these drones, this autonomous way of fighting wars is going to be something that is going to happen. And it's a good thing in one way, because humans are and it's used for good for defense of Ukraine, for example, and you're already seeing a lot of companies doing that. But the aspect that we see here is that it takes time. It also takes some, sometimes some kind of step change, like some kind of event to happen for things to move. So you saw that at the start of the war, for example, it was very, very nascent technology. But as sort of it went on, the requirement for technology went on. There were few companies that built this, had this in their arsenal, but they actually started using it. So that's talking about warfare. Now let's talk about commercial side as well. What happens often is that there needs to be something that sort of pushes things along, and that's why that extra aspect happens. Technology is progressing, chips are becoming cheaper, AI is becoming cheaper to deploy, and so on. Now, what I would say on the technical front, on the commercial front, where I see AI in the next 5 years is that enterprises are increasingly going to find like these kind of low hanging fruits first. Like, hey, let's look at this kind of status object that can be removed with AI, or this kind of thing that can be removed with AI. So they're going to sort of progressively find these kind of aspects. A lot of enterprises have already been using a lot of automation. So you'll see like UI paths, like a lot of these companies sort of using it. But there's always a internal push which has to be there. There has to be a visionary CEO who has to sort of move things forward in these enterprises. I think one thing else I would definitely see happening is new startups coming in and disrupting the field. So I think older companies might be resistant to change because they have a lot of bureaucracy, sort of big people in the company sort of pushing things. So they might focus on the small things. I think new companies will come in with a completely new, fresh approach to the problem area and try to sort of upset the apple cart. And we might see a few successes in some areas. So I see that in about 5 years, like some new companies have sort of come in and done this. In 10 years, I think the AI technology right now, a lot of discussions happening with Jan LeCun and all these pioneers of AI. It's not general intelligence yet. It's still like very data based, and it's able to, like, based on the data, is able to do it. It's not able to reason on its own. And a lot of people talk about robotics will really go ahead. I think still the AI is not at the space that can really transform robotics. It'll still be a slow creep in that sense. But I think a lot of companies are looking at AGI, and I think in 10 years, maybe we'll have an AGI solution. With the way people are putting money in this area, and these companies are getting a lot of investments, a lot of money through what they're doing right now in AI, that they will start to get to AGI by that time. So that's my opinion. And in 10 years, maybe we'll have an AGI, first AGI system that is ready. Just like how there was GPT-2, GPT-3, maybe it will be at the level of GPT-2. Still not there yet, but still coming there. And then maybe about 15 years time, we'll start seeing AGI sort of come in. So that's my prediction. And hopefully AGI will be for the good of humanity and not for making things worse for us.
Yeah, I also hope so. Thank you for sharing your point of view. And we've been talking about the future, but what about the near future for the Ridecell? Do you have any excited plans that you're willing to share regarding the near future for the company?
Yeah, I think with Ridecell, one aspect that we are seeing is there are lots of fleet companies that have realized that the power of using AI for understanding their data and getting insights to the fleet managers. Also for solving issues, solving customer issues that might be there, or solving fleet manager issues that might be there. So Ridecell being a partner of these businesses is really helping these companies understand the right use cases. Like, what are the right use cases? And the real aspect with Ridecell right now is like we want to take multiple use cases because sometimes we don't know. Like, we have an idea that maybe this use case would be useful, but we want to start a POC. We want to sort of build in that area. Some of the use cases have gone into production already. So like data analysis and coming into that aspect has gone into production. But things like replacing call center workers and so on is something that will take more time. It will take more effort and understanding. So it's something that we are starting with, like creating smaller POCs in certain areas, in certain applications, and then seeing how things roll out. And then once we have generated enough data, fine-tuned our systems, and we're not talking about fine-tuning the AI system. We generally try to use off-the-shelf AI systems, but there's a huge amount of engineering required to actually deploy that, to actually make sure that system is actually ready and robust in the solution space that we're trying to do. So we work on that heavily to make sure that we match the product requirements with what we are building on the engineering side, make sure those are all well aligned, and then we iterate to make sure that we have a good POC that is there. And once the POC is successful, we sort of move ahead from that. So I think that's where we're looking at. The couple of use cases are more on the voice side and on the data analysis side. Those are the use cases that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you for that. And the last but not least question that I gotta have to you about not just the product but the company. If our listeners will decide to reach you out and learn more about your product and they want to implement your solution, how can they reach you out? Where they can find you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best way to reach out. People love to sort of see a face as well, apart from an email address. Reach me out on LinkedIn. I think maybe you can drop the link in the description of the podcast, and that's the best way to sort of reach out to me. I'm always active there. I like to engage with people about AI. I usually try to put a post, once or twice a month. Put down some post about AI, my thoughts about what's happening in the world. Interact with me over there if you have some ideas. And I'm happy to get on a call with anybody who's sort of interested in any AI application. Share my experiences, share my thoughts, and always ready for a chat. And then yes, we have a whole sales team, team that can business development team who can then engage with you, and I'm very close to them as well. So I think that's the best way to reach out. My last post was actually interestingly about Lovable app. I don't know, Yuri, have you used that before? Have you played around with the Lovable app?
Not really.
No. So I think if you're trying to sort of play around with AI, you're looking at coding and then you're looking at web development as two areas where AI can really help. So Lovable helps you create a web application very quickly. If you want to create a quick demo with somebody to show, hey, this is what I can sort of do, it's an AI to create a very quick web application. So think in the real estate world, if you want to create a quick website to maybe talk about something new, you can create that using the Lovable app. So something like that is something that I've really been interested about in recently. So I talk about those things on my LinkedIn. So interact with me there.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your contacts. And already traditional question, and that's going to be the last question at this podcast. This is the final statement from our guest. What would you say to our listeners to inspire them in the future? Or maybe say something very useful.
Yeah, I think just the main thing that I would say is be brave. This is the time to be a brave person going out there. Think about AI as your best friend, as your best colleague who can work with you, who always listens to you, who always is interested in you. And I would say look at that aspect in AI. It's a very wonderful time to be alive. I always like to say this: wonderful time to be alive, and
That's always.
enjoy the best. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, just think about it. They have so many possibilities now with AI, with all these aspects that are happening. That the world is an oyster for people to sort of go out and build interesting stuff. Focus on relationships as a person. Focus on those aspects of being human. Is what I would say. And don't be scared that humans can be replaced by AI. I don't think that's going to ever happen.
Okay, so thank you so much one more time for our listeners. That was our today's guest, Gaurav Singh from the Ridecell. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And to our listeners, I want to say that another episode will be coming very soon in the next week. So please stay updated, following our page, and we're going to see you next week. Thank you so much, and ciao for now.